Welcome. Here we are. It is October 17th. Adventures in Business has returned. Mandy, good afternoon. It's 1 p.m. our time. Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Good day, good morning, good afternoon, all the things. I feel
Oh,
like we've both probably been up for hours and hours. It almost feels like good night at this point.
yes, yes, but it's good day.
Yes,
It's
good
been a
day.
3 weeks since we've chatted. What is
Yeah.
something interesting that you've been able to experience over the past couple weeks?
Oh, man. I've actually had 2 really interesting experiences. The first thing, though, is, I teach for, San Diego State University, in their meetings and events program, and classes started, and I teach site selection and contract negotiation. And every batch of students is different. But this particular batch of students, a lot of them are already working. They're already working in hospitality, or they're working different jobs, but they want to hop over to hospitality. And I got to tell you, their line of questioning about contracts is inspiring. I every day, as a buyer of conferences, and I work with hotels all the time, I get sad sometimes because I'm like, oh God, like, can you just teach a contracts class? Like, why don't salespeople at hotels understand contract clauses anymore? It makes me crazy. And I find myself actually being the trainer to them, even though I'm their client.
Okay.
So sometimes I get discouraged, but this batch of students is really, really encouraging me and really inspiring me to realize, like, we've got a whole group of students and kids on deck entering our industry that are really interested in site selection and contracts and all the things that go with it. Some of them are taking multiple classes in different modules of the program. So some of them are F&B, some of them are in AV, and then some of them are in my class. So that's classes started. We've got our last class tonight where we do a virtual site inspection and a live mock contract negotiation.
Okay.
So that's been going on. I love that stuff. It's a whole lot of work, but I love doing that. So that's been really exciting too.
Well, one of your students here, I hope I pronounce her name right. Sana, I think that's her name. Sana Shah. Hello. She says your student is here online.
Hi, Sana. Welcome. Welcome.
Yeah,
See, I
yeah,
told you they're inspiring. It's super
yeah.
inspiring. I love it.
Indeed,
Amani, what
indeed.
about you? I'm really curious about TwitchCon because that's the
Yes.
last thing we talked about from our last show. So it came, it went. Like, how'd it go? What's
Yeah.
the story?
It was interesting. There was a lot of people. We were at the San Diego Convention Center. A lot of the time, this is the first time we've seen people we've been seeing on screen in person, first time in 2 years. I didn't really attend any sessions. I just went to like the partner lounge. I went inside the merch shop, looked around the exhibits, met a few people. I met the creators of Ping, which we're using here. So it's
Hmm.
some pretty good networking really quickly. It was just big, so many people. And we were there on a Friday. So I know it was more people on a Saturday. So this year I had a gig. Next year I try to plan a little better. But it was interesting, primarily focused on like gamers, very small in the music department. But yes, it was interesting. It was good. They could have done some better things PR wise, but we'll see kind of what they've learned.
Time time is a beautiful thing with those conferences, especially the early ones. Sometimes it takes 10 to 15 years to kind of get it dialed in, and that's when you know more, you do better, right? But
Yes.
not to like spill the tea on how the sausage is made, but I am curious. I think I just want you to share with everybody. When most people do LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn actually gives some platforms, they suggested platforms, and StreamYard is one of them, and I think Vimeo might be one of them.
Mhm.
But we use Ping.
Right.
And so, can you explain to everybody why we use Ping and why you think it's better and all that? Because I know, Amani is the producer, right? He's got things on his end, and then I've got things on my end, but I've just never asked you that question why we use
Right.
Ping.
I think for me, Ping allows greater customization than like a StreamYard would or a Restream. It also gives us higher quality in terms of the video. The video we're broadcasting, I think each of us is at 480. We could bump it up to 720, even 1080, and it would be really clear. The quality of video is definitely apparent. And it's easy to use, it's simple, and it allows us much better customization than it would traditionally, like a StreamYard or something like that. So that's why I chose to use it. It's not free, but I feel it's a really good investment, and I'm still learning about it, but I'm happy with what I've got used so far.
All right, go. Go, Ping, go. All right, thank you.
There we
Thanks for
go.
that. I never
Ping.gg
asked
is
you that, I
the name.
should
Of
have.
course. So, who do we have the pleasure of talking to this week, Wendy?
Well, let me tell you. Here's who we have today. We have the founder of the Clean and Colorful Kitchen, which is a meal delivery service here in Southern California. The author of Skinny Teenies, which is a fantastic book. It was written a long time ago before skinny everything was a thing. And I think we should get into that with her. She's operated and sold two different businesses. She was a blogger and an influencer before bloggers and influencers were a thing. She was like an OG, a
There you
self proclaimed veggie ninja. And this person really rocks a morning show segment. So not only is she one hell of a pickleball player, but she's the only person I know that can create an online persona for her cat. And welcome to the stage, Teresa Marie House.
Oh my God, Mandy, you're hysterical. Hi. That
Welcome.
was
go.
really
Some
lovely.
applause there. All right, so
That
tell
was
us, that was a great introduction, Teresa. Maybe share some things about yourself that maybe Manny didn't share in that glorious introduction, and then I want to ask you about pickleball.
oh, I'm actually glad you're asking about that because it isn't something we're thinking about working on. I don't know. I think she covered everything. I think the one, and while it might have sounded kind of weird to have gone from Skinny Teenies, which was low calorie cocktails, to what I do now, which is help San Diegans eat unprocessed plant forward food through my meal prep company. The one thing that's always really stood true is that I just always believed and still believe that the world would be a better place if people just made better choices when it came to what they're putting in their bodies. And so I started way back when with that cocktail book, and that was way before like people even knew alcohol had calories. Like I think there was a time in like the 90s and the 2000s like where you just didn't realize vodka, it was clear. You thought it was, had calories in it. And then I worked in weight loss, so I had written that book and really went through it. And when I started working on my own, I was like, why can't people just make smarter decisions? It's because it's hard, it's complicated, it's confusing, it's overwhelming out there. The health space is very, very crowded. And I've always stayed really true to trying to keep things really simple and realistic. And so I've always tried to bridge that gap between what does health like look like in science and then how does that work in reality. And I've always tried to fill that gap. And I have done it through very different channels all across the way for the last couple of decades. So
Now, how did you discover pickleball? How often do you play? What intrigued you
really
and what drew you to that?
well, I have never ever played a paddle sport. So when I was an athlete, I was a runner and I was a distance runner. I was a marathon runner. So that is the most so pickleball for me has been such a challenge. It's been so humbling because I've never held a paddle. I've never had to hit a ball. I don't have any instincts to run towards flying objects. Like that's just not something that has been in my habit of the way I move my body. And I'm in my mid 40s. So learning how to do something different it's been a challenge. And I had heard of pickleball prior to the pandemic, but then when in the middle of the pandemic, we moved to Idlewild, which is 2 hours outside of San Diego. We bought a cabin, moved to Idlewild to hide out. And in the summer, it's too hot to hike. And they have two community courts in Idlewild. So I had a friend who's like, who wants to learn how to play pickleball? And I was like, I'll go learn how to play pickleball. And then it's a fun sport. It's super accessible. You play with a ping pong. Do you play pickleball, Amani? Are you familiar with the sport?
I've read about it. I've seen it. It's intriguing because I got to cut back on the soccer I play, so this could be another alternative.
I think that's what it
So
is. So appealing. I figured I was like the average pickleball player, at least, I mean, historically, is like probably in their mid 60s. So I was like, well, if I start playing today, by the time I get to the average age of a pickleball player, I have 20 years of experience and I'll be very good. So I'm playing the long game with this sport because I know I can play it for a really long time. Because marathon running, even when I was a great runner, I knew it wasn't something that I was going to be able to do for the rest of my life. And something like pickleball, you're playing on half a tennis court or a basketball court. you have a paddle this big, you're playing with a wiffle ball, which it can go fast and it can go hard, but not really. Like it's just, and it's fun as long as you're playing with the right people and they have the right attitude. And you remember, this really helps me. Like there's three important things when you're doing rec play pickleball. Like it's like the first rule is to have fun. And the second rule is to get exercise. And the third rule then is, or goal is to win. And the first two are interchangeable, but you always have to keep that winning thing, especially when you're like me and you're learning on the like the least important part. And as long as you're running around, you're having fun, you're hitting this ball, and you're not thinking about anything else, because all you're doing is focusing on this stupid ball and how you can hit it and get it to where your partner, your opponent can't get it. It's fun and it takes you kind of out of your daily life. So it's been a fun sport. And so I don't play. I play regularly since we moved back to San Diego, like twice a week maybe, but always beginner intermediate. I'm not very good. It's a little frustrating, but I keep trying.
I love the third goal is to win because when I play pickleball, when my husband and I play pickleball, somebody needs to slip him that note. That the third goal is to win.
It's a good balance there. Jessica Martini, hello. Carolyn Harris, hello. Welcome to Adventures in Business. Go ahead, Mandy.
Well, so Teresa, I want to go back to so many guests that we have on this show, so many founders and CEOs, and those that are listening too. They start in a corporate environment and, get their reps in that environment, learn what they love, learn what they don't love, and then they start their own business. So I want to hear from you about, you started at Jenny Craig. What did you do there? How did you advance through those ranks? And then at what point did you then, merge from there to whatever that next step was? Because I know Clean and Colorful Kitchen is where you are now, but there was a whole bunch of exciting stuff in between. So I'm just curious about your transition and your why from corporate to entrepreneurial.
Yeah, no, that's such a great question. It's funny. I almost felt like I knew you were going to ask me that because I was thinking about it this morning. I don't think about my Jenny Craig days that much because it was so long ago. It was almost a decade. Yeah, almost 10 years ago that I left that. But I was there for over a decade. I was there for 13 years. It was really the only job I had out of college. So I studied nutrition in college. And then I was very clear about helping people live in healthier bodies. And I was like, oh, I'll go work for this corporate weight loss company and we'll just see what we can do there. So I started in the stores, in the centers as a consultant. I did that for a year. And then I went to the nutrition department and I answered all the questions that came in nationally from the stores when you had a client with a medication interaction or they weren't losing weight or prior health, whatever. And so I would answer those questions. And then I moved into corporate operations and then ultimately into franchise operations. And that was where I was working as a business consultant with the franchisees all across the nation. I had like 35. As a company, we had 35 franchisees, over 110 locations, and I had half of them. And that was a really fun job. And I can't credit my decade plus of experience at Jenny Craig and more. I have the best memories. I learned so much. It gave me such a strong foundation for what a successful company really looks like. She's a female founder. She started Jenny Craig after the age of 50, highly inspiring, grew that brand, had 98% unabated brand awareness. Everybody knows Jenny Craig is one of the leading weight loss companies. It was a really, really lovely experience. And like I said, it was the only job I had really outside of ever. That was it. But I worked in so many different capacities and the company was bought and sold two times while I worked there. So when I joined, Sid and Jenny still owned the company. Then we were sold to private bankers where we were sort of financed, right? We had goals we had to hit. If we didn't, we would be fired, and then Nestle bought us. So that was this big organization. So I felt like I worked for a lot of different brands and a lot of different capacities. And I got to learn and pick up a bunch of different pieces about what I liked. Obviously I liked the more entrepreneurial, smaller, independent, route that I had from the inspiration from Sid and Jenny Craig. And then we got to the end of the day, and the company still exists. There's still stores and they're still helping people this way. I just saw a commercial the other day. I got to the point in my health journey where I just felt like I wanted to work beyond packaged food because now you can tell what I do with my kitchen. I work with unprocessed, plant forward, locally sourced food, which is good for the body, good for the environment, good for the community. And so that company does a great thing. I love it. I was there for a very long time. I learned so much. I still have good friends from there. but I wanted to work on a smaller local level and work with real food. And how initially there was a gap between leaving Jenny Craig and opening the kitchen 4 years. And initially I wanted to teach people how to do it themselves. And through that, I did that fairly successfully, but then decided that it's just hard. It's just hard for people to find the time to plan, wash, chop, cook, and store vegetables and eat them before they go bad.
Mhm.
So then that was how I opened the kitchen. And that's how I got where I am today.
Interesting.
Love
And
it.
then
Good story.
what inspired you to then also add on author to your list of accomplishments? What inspired you to write the book?
That is so that's Skinny Teenies, and so that was the subject to the tagline is all the fun for half the calories, and it was 2007 when I started working on
Mhm.
that book. So it's pre Skinny Girl, it's pre Bethany, it's all of that, and it is when at working in weight loss, people were like, I cannot drink at all if I'm losing weight, or I didn't realize that vodka had calories. Like I thought, because it wasn't, for some reason, and to this day, the liquor doesn't have to disclose a nutrition label on it. You don't buy a bottle of vodka and see that it has 80 calories per ounce. You don't know that. And it's still very complicated today to find ingredients and calorie content of a lot of alcoholic beverages. And so I knew that was a huge gap. And so I had started creating my own little recipes. There were Skinny Teenies, and they had all the booze. I always had 2 ounces of alcohol in my cocktails, but I was getting really creative with my mixers, and I was using less sugar in the mixers, and we were finding out that we all felt better. We weren't hungover. And so I literally, I'm not even kidding you, I Googled in 2008 how to get a book published, and like found an article and was like, oh, I need an agent and I need a packet. So I built a packet and I sent it to 13 agents or something. I got one very helpful rejection because it was originally a weight loss book. It was a social drinker's guide to weight management. And she wrote me back and said, I love your concept. I think you're onto something, but you don't have enough content. If you would double your content, I would reconsider your project. And then I realized that I didn't want to fill space with words that I didn't feel necessary. Like if I wanted to double my content, I would have written twice the content. So I was like, oh, I'll just repackage it as a recipe book then, because that's really all that matters. And so then I did. And then I mailed off like 13 more agent packets and I got one. And she helped me with the book packet because the book was already written, which it turns out you don't have to do that. And then we got a publisher and it was published and came out in 2009. It reprinted in paperback in 2012, I believe. And
Yes.
So
and
I
to this day, although not the best-selling low-calorie cocktail book, will always be the original. Like it made it to Amazon or any other book that talked to, and now it's saturated. There's probably dozens of calories. Skinny Teeny is the first one ever published.
the OG of OGs. I have memories of Teresa hosting Skinny Teeny parties in 2009, 2010, and like lugging her Skinny Teeny recipes up her suitcase, like event to event. And then she did the tour of morning shows. Like everybody wanted to know how to drink a margarita, a skinny margarita. So 2 quick follow-up questions. What is the skinniest cocktail somebody can drink? If you were to make a skinny drink for somebody right now, like what?
So alcohol is alcohol. Like tequila, vodka, rum, like they're all gonna have I think it's 80 calories per ounce. Maybe it's 70. I'm not as well practiced in this space right now. And that's just because it's alcohol. It's its own macronutrient. You can't mess with it. So you can make a cocktail skinnier by using less alcohol. That is a really easy way to do it. Or you just have to watch your sugar. So you don't want to, and then you decide if you want to go natural sugar and less of it, or if you go an artificial route, which is honestly why I don't talk about Skinny Teenies that much anymore, because in 2009, I was like, whatever, it's a diet cocktail book. And we used a lot of Splenda, which I wouldn't touch Splenda today. So then that's just like something that shows about the sign of like the way things change and we evolve through nutrition. And nutrition is a science, but it's ever changing and ever growing. But so, I mean, just so clean booze and soda water, lime juice, the easiest you can go. Like, and then you just start and then if you really want it to be skinny, use half the alcohol.
There you go. So simple.
And
And
then
and what about the can you talk a little bit, and I promise Amani, I'll zip it for a little bit. Can you talk about the sale of Skinny Tea? Like who approached you and how did that go down? And what was your thought process of just selling that? What did you sell of
What
Skinny
did I
Teeny?
sell? So that was funny because I think I did actually this I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I did actually form a company and I don't think I even really had a revenue stream. But what I sold, the company I had initially I closed down, but I sold the trademarks because Skinny Teeny was such a clever name that when I registered it in 5 classes. So I registered it for like on and offline material, glassware, and alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. And so what I ended up selling was the alcoholic and non-alcoholic use of the term skinny teeny in beverages. And so I sold those trademarks to a company that was doing, skinny shakes and stuff like that. And then I did some consulting with them too. They were using skinny more in the traditional sense of the word skinny, which I wasn't like, even with my blog, Eat and Drink and Be Skinny, I spent a lot of time talking about what skinny really means because it is sort of a controversial word that offends some
Mhm,
people. I
mhm.
always meant it in a really fun and flirty way, like happy, like I feel skinny kind of thing. Whereas a
Mhm,
lot of skinny can be, it's very, very controversial, and I'm very well versed in it.
mhm.
Um, so as I sort of separated from that word, it didn't really make a lot of sense to continue working with that company. So I didn't work with them for very long. And I don't think they ever developed Skinny Teeny. They had a portfolio of 30 something skinny trademarks that were also, they had like, and I don't even know which ones they actually ended up using. I don't want to say the whatever the brand, but anyway, a
Yeah.
bunch of skinny stuff. My trademark went into their portfolio, and I don't know what they ended up producing or what they.
And then it's the R, the registered trademark, right? Not the TM that they bought from you, right?
I don't know. They just bought the rights to
Okay.
it. I don't even know
They
what.
just bought the rights to use it.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay.
yeah.
I didn't care if they used it
So
after that, and they sent me some money. It was great.
we got a question
Fascinating.
from the chat before I ask my follow-up question. So Lori Kime, good to see you, Lori. Welcome. She says, "What's your favorite cocktail now, Teresa?"
I know, isn't that funny? All that cocktail stuff. I drink wine now. I just do. I love wine. But if I am gonna drink a cocktail, I'll usually do like a light cocktail, like um a vodka and then a ton of soda water and just like a little bit of juice. And I don't mess with any of the other funky alcohols that are out there because a lot of the other because if you're looking at something that's like I know Aperol spritzes are really great, but there's more sugar in that. Like, and then they put champagne in it, which has got a lot of sugar. Like, so I don't drink a ton of cocktails, probably because I don't like a lot of sugar in them. So maybe they don't taste that good, so I don't drink them that much. But and I'm recently very hot on the boozy booches, the boozy kombuchas. Those are nice.
Oh, okay.
Boozy booches.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then,
there's a bazillion of them, and two really big companies here in San Diego. So I'm happy to support local, but we've got a lot of boozy booch in our fridge.
yeah, yeah. Since we have three authors on the screen, I'm going to ask you probably the most common question that comes to you is like, when are you writing your next book? What's your next book on?
So I love that you asked that question. I don't really have it. I've thought about it. I think I have an outline for a book, a clean and colorful lifestyle book that's like because I'm like clean and colorful is more than just the food you eat. It's the way you live, and it's like I don't know. So I could do exactly what I did with Skinny Teeny and just do a recipe book on because we have a bazillion really great recipes that are really creative and people don't. And that's why that veggie ninja, when you say self-proclaimed veggie ninja, that's twofold. But one of it is that we're pretty sneaky. Like we're pretty sneaky about the amount of vegetables that we process and put in this food that just tastes really good. So you don't always feel like you're eating. And I still, 6 years later, I will still eat something and I'm like, that is so good. Like I'm still baffled by why it's just plants. And like, how does it come out tasting so good? There's a lot of love and a lot of work that goes into it, but we have a lot of really great recipes. Um, but I know firsthand, and especially after having just watched Mandy promote and just crush her book, it's so all consuming.
Yeah,
It's like having another baby. And I just don't know if I'm ready to
Yeah,
it's
choose
a lot
wisely. Timing's everything. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Amani,
Me,
when's your next book?
I'm writing now, if I'm being honest. Like I got the topic, we're working on it. It's just trying to get to it. It's a lot. So
Mhm.
mentally, you got to get ready. Once you get mentally, you're in the writing mode, then it's easier. And I have to kind of get to that mental point, working on it. So hopefully, upcoming weeks, I can get started. Mandy mentioned before how you kind of worked the corporate space, then branched off to do your own thing. Many people try that in life and are unsuccessful, how have you been able to be so successful after working in a corporate space and now work on your own and continue to thrive and grow?
Oh, that's a really good question. And I think success is also subjective, right? Like it took me 8 years to match my corporate salary. Like,
Mhm.
so if you're looking in terms of revenue and benefits and like that was and like I literally very recently just got great health benefits. Like so, but I always felt successful from the day I left because I was doing exactly what I wanted to be doing. And there's projects that come into conflict, even when I was influencing, and I'm like, and you just don't have to do it. Like, you don't have to suck it up and take it. And I think that is really, really empowering, and probably how I would define my success is that I haven't had to take a project wouldn't stand behind and that I wouldn't want to represent or and work on. So that's great. And so maybe I don't know if that means I don't really know how to answer that question in terms of what I've done that's been successful, but I guess also really evolving and changing as like you not only do you change as a person and what you want to work on changes, but you kind of have to change with what's changing in the environment, what's changing around you. And I actually got lucky that I hit the meal prep service prior to the pandemic because we were perfectly positioned to really help and to like we were already really helping, but then we couldn't go to the you could go to the grocery stores, but it was scary. You couldn't go to restaurants, and we had this to go operation set up that was just really providing a great solution for people, and we didn't have to pivot. So that was lovely. That was a nice perk of the
Yeah.
otherwise bleak situation. Um, I had some advice really early on because I did leave corporate America. I did have a severance package that wasn't going to last forever. So I had a certain amount of time before I had to figure out how I was going to earn money and actually pay my bills. And I did have an advisor at the time who was like, and you have to be very intentional and specific about what you're going to work on. So it's not so much what you are going to do, but all the things that you aren't going to do and
Mhm.
trying to not do everything, but just being really specific and really intentional. And honestly, working in the health space, which is just such a big space, and there's so many questions. And really, I think my initial goal was to help people live happier and healthier lives, which is very vague. And so it took me a very long time to chisel in with, well, now I just help people eat more plants. And that's a little bit more clear. It's a little bit more specific. And I think today, almost 10 years later, I am as successful as I ever have been as an entrepreneur in this moment. And I think it's because I'm very clear on what we do today. I think that's probably the hardest thing about leaving your job. When you have a job, it tells you not only do you have the benefit of somebody telling you what to do, they tell you how to do it. It's great.
Mhm.
Like you're like having a job. There's so many great things about having a job. Like there's never any doubt on what you should be doing, or if you're doing good at it, you get annual reviews. Like you don't get that. And a part of me even misses it a little bit. Like, how do I judge whether or not am being successful or I am doing this right, or if it could be done better? And that's when talking to people like you guys and really getting out there and working with other entrepreneurs and small business owners and just like, oh, okay, I think we are doing all right, or oh, I could do that, we would be doing better. But it's not quite as cut and dry and as clear as it when you have a job.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I hear that. I mean, I think we all feel that, right? Like, Amani comes from a corporate background, and I come from a corporate background, and you are winging it. But something you said, a takeaway for me in that is you said to be intentional about what you're doing, and you don't have to do everything. I think all of us, myself included, entrepreneurial minds, we wanna do everything, we wanna create everything, you wanna execute, but there's just not enough time in the day to do that, and you really have to hone in on what it is you truly wanna do or who it is you really wanna help, so I appreciate that, intention behind that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it can
Yeah.
save you. It has saved me in the past.
Mhm.
How does it feel that to know that you were an influencer before influencing was a thing? And
Not
how
fun.
do you it's fun and how do you view the evolution of the influencer space?
I think influencer
Mm.
marketing is cool. I think as long as you find an influencer who is doing it because that's the brand that they represent and they're staying true to themselves, because it's really easy to take money from something that you're like, you're going to pay me how much to do what? But if it's not in your repertoire, so you like if you are somebody that subscribes to the concept of like I follow influencers, like you would just have to check their integrity and make sure, because it's real easy to fit there and just take the money and run. Um, and I don't know how it well, blogging was a thing when I started my blog. Like, blogging was a thing. Instagram, I don't even think we were barely even on Instagram, I think, in
Back
2009.
then.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
it was interesting. I think when I wrote my book proposal, I was like because it was before social media was a thing. I think I called it like internet networking or something. I'm like, I'm going to do internet networking.
I'm the computer networking.
I'm going to use the
Totally
computer
different.
to spread the news about this book. And it was this really cool idea that I was going to do that in 2008.
Yeah. Like back then, Twitter was a thing for sure. Facebook, yes,
Twitter was,
but not Instagram. Yeah. And
yeah.
barely Pinterest back then. So yeah.
But I feel like can you tell this story, and maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I feel like there was a marathon that you ran in Jerusalem,
I did.
and this was an all expenses paid something or other thing, and this was a part of your influencer journey.
Yes,
Am I
I
remembering
missed
this right? Can you tell this story? Because I just
that.
thought that was
I know,
spectacular.
that was so awesome. I actually missed that quite a bit. There was a lot of great things about being in the media space, and I was on a lot of media lists as like a health and like healthy lifestyle influencer. So I would get a lot of stuff. A lot of people just send you stuff. That was so fun. I would come home, there's like packages. But that press trip, I was invited. I don't even know how that happened. I had the blog called Eat, Drink, and Be Skinny, which sounds like a joke. And I got an invitation from the tourism board of Israel to join the US press team and fly to Jerusalem and run the marathon and write about it on my blog. So I was like, okay, I will totally do that. And I did. And it was amazing. And I got to go to Israel, and that was fantastic. And I really missed that. I did a couple of cool press trips, but that was by far the most amazing opportunity I had. So if I was going to get back into that space, it would be mostly because I just want to get back on the press circuit and the travel
Mm,
part of it, because it's
yeah.
really lovely to go places as a writer of the media, because people are really nice to you. They want to show you everything about what they do, and
Yeah.
and that was a really really amazing opportunity.
And then how did that grow into your blog being sold? Or tell me about that. Is it, or was it web pages, or what was the next thing that you had sold, that complicated piece of the next page?
Well, so then I had Eat, Drink, and Be Skinny, because that's how I signed all my books, the Skinny Teeny books. I signed them and said, Eat, Drink, Be Merry. I was like, Eat, Drink, and Be Skinny. And then when I got I was going to start networking on the internet, I started the blog, which was Eat, Drink, and Be Skinny. And I blogged on it, and it was a comprehensive resource to help people learn how to eat well, move more, and feel good in their body, essentially. And I spent a lot of time fighting with people about the word skinny, and I spent and it went on and on. And so I think in 2000, then I opened the kitchen in 2017. So I think, and then around 2018, I was like, forget it. I'm not blogging anymore. It's not my main source of income anymore. I'm not going to fight to keep this alive, but I have a lot of great content on there. So I'm just going to move it over to Teresa Marie Wellness, which is my new handle for anything that's not related to the kitchen. And so I have teresamariewellness.com, and it's to help people like eat well, move more, and love life. I think I put travel often in there too, because I want to travel more. And so that was right before the pandemic. And so Eat, Drink, and Be Skinny, I just like laughed. Like a lot of people were like, it has great traffic. There's a lot of money in that. You blogged on it. I was doing all the SEO. There's like some really powerful backlinks on that, and you don't want to move them to your new blog. And I was like, I don't. Like people, like I already have enough of a following. People who are following me and they want to listen to what I have to say, they're going to go to Teresa Wellness, and it's going to be clean, and it's going to be a fresh start. It's almost like renovating a house versus just building a new house. And I was like,
Mhm.
sometimes it's just easier to build a new house. So I just built a new one. And then I left the old one just to grow. Like I just like left it, like just, and the internet is a live thing and stuff happens. It was, I don't know, like I hacked a couple times, and it was just sitting there. But it did have a lot of link juice, and it did have some value in it. So a company from Denmark, they wanted to launch their wellness brand in the US. And so they wanted my backlinks, and they bought the blog, and they offered me a number, and I was like, no, no, just no. And then they were like, how about this? And then I was like, okay. And then
Okay. Okay, you're like, "That's good, I love that." You're like, "Okay, yeah, that works now."
I go, well, let me go
Um,
through it again and take all my favorite content. So then because I was just writing new content on Teresa Marie Wellness. And so then I took all my best pieces, all my personal stories, all my race reviews, all my travels, and all my really like well researched nutrition pieces. And I put them on Teresa Marie Wellness. And then I was like, you can have it. It was great. That was a great, like, that worked out really well. And then that was really dictated and guided by like my own personal value. Like it's really subjective how much an old website you're not using is worth. I'm like, and it's worth what somebody will pay for it. It doesn't matter what valuation tool you use, it's worth whatever somebody will pay. And I thought it was worth more than what they originally wanted to pay. And I was like, I don't need the money. Like, this is, and it's fine. And they're like, well, how about this?
yeah,
But I think the value, like I think that the pickup on that, right, is, if you have a blog, keep blogging. And if you have a domain name, keep that domain name. Even if you decide to build the new house, keep the domain name. Like I know I harvest domain names. I buy all these different domain names and I keep them, and I think they're relevant at the time, and I hold them because you never know when that might be popular and somebody might want to buy that domain
I
name, right?
know. I
So I
do
think
too.
that's the value. In your blogs, there's value. Writing online, there's content that you're putting on your website, there's value there. And obviously, you're not doing it all to make money. You're doing it because you're passionate about it, you love it, but it might be not as valuable to you in the future as it is today, but it might be more valuable to somebody else in
Somebody
their
else.
case.
Yeah, which
So,
I didn't expect that. It was so in a lot of ways it was just free money because I wasn't
mhm,
expecting it at all. But
yeah.
here's something kind of cool about writing on the internet. So I'm in this Spanish class now. I'm taking Spanish at City College with a bunch of like City College students. They're like I'm the oldest one in there by about 100 years. And I go into my little breakout group with this young man who's studying to be a doctor. And he goes, Teresa House, that sounds familiar. He's like, do you work in the nutrition space? And I was like, I do. He goes, I think I quoted you in a paper I was writing on diabetes. And I was like, that's amazing.
that's great. Phenomenal.
I can't
Wow.
imagine what piece it was that he quoted me on. And I hope it was in good, like it was good standing. But I was like, that's pretty cool. He's like, yeah, I think I just included a link to something. I was like, well, I do a lot of work in the plant forward nutrition space. So I wouldn't be terribly surprised because diabetes, obviously a plant forward diet helps manage diabetes naturally. So I thought that was fabulous. You never
Yeah,
know what you put out there to who's going to read it.
That's awesome.
yeah. The world is big. It's a very big world.
Mhm.
Now, you are nearing your 6-year anniversary of being in business, so congratulations to you. January 2023 will be 6 years. I always love to ask us about lessons learned and wisdom acquired as you've gone through this experience. What would you say would be some of the most valuable lessons you've learned as you started your business and continued to almost 6 years?
Oh, that's such a good question. And I wish that I had like asked somebody that question before I started my business. And I don't know if I would have done things differently only because I am just a glutton for punishment. Like I have to do everything the hard way. I don't generally believe what people say. Like I need to learn how to do things for myself. Like I do so much work myself instead of just hiring out help. It's ridiculous. Um, and so I built that company from scratch without ever having ever worked in a kitchen. I'd never even seen a three compartment sink, which is fine. It worked out well. We have a great company. We do great things. Um, and it's a very smooth operation today, but could it have been a smoother start? Like, could we have been more successful from the beginning had I either A, bought an existing business and improved it, or B, hired somebody who had built this type of business to help me, like just the shortcuts. Like trial and error is fun because you learn. And I honestly think I have the personality that I probably needed to do it the way that I did it. Like, but if I could rewind, would I have looked for somebody that would maybe mentor me through it and explain what pots I needed versus, like it's just things that you learn. With trial and error is it's fun, it's cheaper in the short run, but is it cheaper in the long run? Like, did I miss revenue? And even today, like if I hired a business growth strategist, could we be doing more? Could we be doing better? Could we be serving more clients? Could we be expanding in a bigger capacity? Because we aren't right now. We're doing great. We have like a stable and successful business. We're almost at capacity. We keep a handful of new clients. We don't do any marketing, only because I don't know what I would do if I got 20 new clients. I mean, it would throw off our whole operation. We're a small company. Not that we can't take new clients, but I just, so I don't know. I don't think I'm not the best example of working with consultants. And I think that I could have and probably could be more successful if I did. But
Ah,
that's
go ahead, Mandy.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, tell us about Clean and Colorful Kitchen. Like we hear about the start, but like, what is that end product? Who uses you? Like, what does it look like? And what is that space, that meal delivery space all about? Because I know there's in the meal delivery space, there's like Blue Apron or Hello Fresh where they deliver all the goods to you and you make it, right? But
yeah.
then
So
there's this other segment, yeah,
that's
where it's
like
not.
that's an industry terminology thing. Like everybody, like there are some national meal prep companies, but most meal prep companies that are delivering fully cooked food are generally local. They're not.
Mm,
I mean, that's not true. You can definitely get food shipped to you in a box. But if you were ever going to use a meal prep company, I would source somebody local that is using local produce, that's supporting your community. So, and then meal kits. People always say that. Like when I say I have a meal prep company, they're like, "Oh, I used to do Blue Apron." Like it's different because you still have to cook it. So Blue Apron's going to shop and they're going to plan for you, which those are big components of healthy eating, not just like what am I going to eat, but going to physically get it. So they'll put it in your refrigerator, but you still have to cook it. And that's another like good half an hour, depending on which one you go with. To some of them, you have to chop up the vegetables. There's a lot of packaging in that. There's a lot of waste still. It's fun if you love to cook. I have been a client of Purple Carrot off and on for years because they do really great plant-based food. And they're really creative and they have a ton of chefs on their team. So if I need some recipe ideas, sometimes I order a Purple Carrot because I'm curious how they make it. And then I can redo
mhm.
it in my kitchen with our nutrition parameters and our pantry ingredient list, like what we use in inventory. And I can create a recipe and then we do it. We'll source everything locally. We have a little kitchen in Mission Hills and we will physically cook it. So we'll plan our menu. We buy all the ingredients, we wash, chop, and prep everything. We cook everything. We put it in the tray, and then we put it in a bag, and then we will bring it to your door. So then you have the goal. Like my goal was to always just fill the gaps. I don't want people to order all of their food from my kitchen because it's healthy food. I mean, it's good. It's great. I've been eating it for 6 years. We cook really good food.
Mhm.
But it's not your sole source of food. It's just sort of like to fill in where you struggle. Like if you have a hard time eating a healthy dinner most nights of the week, then order from my kitchen and let us bring it to your door so you don't have to think about it. Like if you have a hard time eating breakfast in the morning because you don't have time to eat a balanced like breakfast that will set you up for the day, then order them from my kitchen so that you don't have to worry about it. Like if you need healthy snacks, if you need smoothies or like a plant-based detox kit, like those are the things that like whatever piece you're lacking in your life, you can get that from our kitchen to just fill wherever you're struggling.
Yeah.
So I want to follow up and ask you because I've always wondered the sustainability of this kind of business because it's a pretty new business. And like, what's your opinion on how people can, like yourself, can continue to thrive for the long term? Because I'm just curious about the sustainability because it just seems it's very different. I'm so curious to be how can this business last for an extended period of time?
Well, it is an interesting business. Meal prep companies are interesting because you don't need your own kitchen, so there's not a lot of barriers to entry. So, like a lot of people can pop up a meal prep company, and I've seen probably a dozen come and go in the 6 years that we've been cooking.
Mm. Wow.
Because they're really easy to start. But one thing that you quickly realize is that it's a lot of work and it doesn't ever go away because every week you've got to, and it doesn't scale the way technology scales. It doesn't
Yes.
scale the way, like, it doesn't really scale the way like traditional retail. Like because if you sell more carrots, you have to cut and peel more carrots. Like it's just a lot of work. There's a lot of work involved in meal prep. Um, but one thing that is shocking to me is how long our clients stay. So coming from this is when you talk about business sustainability, because we're not a quick fix, we are truly a lifestyle solution. We have clients that have literally been ordering from us for 5 years. Like it's bananas. I just saw one last night and I was like, you guys are so OG. Like they're older than any of my current staff. I mean, they joined when I was still schlepping around stuff and doing tastings at like gyms. Like they've been clients for like over 5 years, which is just remarkable. And that I wasn't expecting coming from Jenny Craig, where clients stayed 6 to 8 weeks and it was all the food that they ate. And that was a thing that people were really dedicated to doing. And then they would burn out and then they couldn't do it anymore. And so instead of that, like it's just helping people eat better food. So the model is super sustainable. We can do it. People will always order it. It's just a matter of finding people to do the work, and that is the ongoing challenge in any food-based business. But I will say that we have the best crew we've ever had. Like, it's
Mm.
ridiculous. Like, I don't even understand how or why these amazing people want to come peel vegetables with me every Sunday, but they do, and we have a blast, and it's amazing. So there's a lot of really great things that come out of the Clean and Colorful Kitchen, not just the food, but like everything that goes into making it is really lovely. Like, it's really amazing.
I love that. And I know like right now too, like especially in the hospitality and food service world, we're hearing from asset managers and owners and HR people and CEOs that there's no labor out there, and the labor that is available is not great, and people are having a hard time keeping people engaged and working for a food service or restaurant or bar or hotel. So what are you finding? Like, how are you keeping your people engaged? Like, what are tips you have for other entrepreneurs that are in food service that
I
you're doing and keeping people there?
I think what I had what I did and what I have done that has been the most successful is I stopped hiring people with experience, and I just started hiring people because what we do is not complicated. Like, we're peeling carrots. Like, I mean, and our recipes are fantastic. They tell you exactly what to do. So I don't need somebody with 15 years of kitchen experience. I need somebody that I want to spend my weekends with. And
Mhm.
so we'd have this group of people that we are enjoying being together, and we're doing the work together. And that it's just sort of a byproduct of being social. But that, I mean, we're 6 years in the making, and I've gone through a lot of different types of hiring and finding. But so everybody that we have now are clients that converted that wanted to come work and get some free food and a big old discount on food beyond what we offer, or friends of friends. Now I have a husband and a wife cooking and prepping, and that's so much fun.
Mhm.
Um, and so we can train anything in food. You can train, like you can train all of that. Like, if maybe they're a little smaller than a trained sous chef, but whatever. Like, if they stay, they're great. We're having a good time. We're doing a good job. But that was how I found the most success. And then we do this always blows my boyfriend's mind too. I have like quarterly happy hours, and he's like, nobody wants to go to a work happy hour. I'm like, no, they do. Like, they will come to the thing. And so we will get together outside of the kitchen and laugh about how ridiculous it is what we do in the kitchen. And we have a fantasy football league this year, the first year, which is supposed to be
Funny.
very successful. It's called the league is the Veggie Ninjas, and then everybody has their team based on just some silly name, like our DJ dishwasher, and we have our Mad Bagger. She's our lead pecker. Like, we have like we change our names all the time. I'm changing mine this year. What am I right now? Oh, okay, fantastico. Like, it's funny. Like, it's goofy. And then only had 11 people, and you need 12 for the league. So then they're like, maybe your cat needs a team. So Biscuits is represented in the Vixie Ninja League. I know it's ridiculous. But it's just little things. You keep it fun, you keep it engaging, because you're not really like people are good. They can work anywhere. What we have to do is create a space people want to be, and like something that people are like a part of something, and that they look. And I truly at this time look forward to going to work with these people, because we're just having a good time and we're doing a great thing while we're there. And I think that matters too.
Interesting. So
Man.
we're to the point of the show where we kind of flip the table, and you can ask myself a question and you can ask Mandy a question just based on our conversation today, which you know about us. So we'll turn it over to you as we have about 10 minutes left.
I love
Um,
it. How fun.
who do you want to ask the question to first, and what's that question?
Okay, well, I'm going to ask Mandy, what is on your clean and colorful menu in the next week or so? Mandy's a fantastic cook. She does some amazing stuff at home. What are you working on?
I literally just this morning, early this morning, like, I don't even know, 6 AM, made a zucchini bake where I shredded
I've had that
green.
bake.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You have had that bake. Yes. But I plot twisted. I did a little plot twist. I did green zucchini. I did the yellow squash. I did a little bit of goat cheese and a whole bunch of fresh tomatoes. I never normally put tomatoes in it, but I thought, well, wouldn't roasted tomatoes in this be delicious? And I made it early this morning. I just had a little bit for lunch before the call. But yeah, That's hot off the presses. That's my clean and colorful kitchen for the week. I did make a salad. I did make a salad earlier. Normally I meal prep on Sundays, but we watched all the playoff games on Saturday night, and so I had a little too much to drink, and Sunday was not as motivated as I normally am. And so Sunday, I took the whole day off of work, off of life, and just hung out with my husband. And so this morning was my meal prep window, and I made that zucchini bake. Yeah.
Amazing. I
Mhm.
love it, I love it. And Amani, I don't know you as well. Tell me about your book as an author. Like, tell me what you wrote about and what we can learn from it, and if I probably need to read it.
Yes, yes. DJs mean business. It takes you through the time slots of a DJ set from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And every 15 minutes, it relates it to some part of growing a business. Whereas, you first start off 10 p.m. to 10:15. You're kind of building rapport with who's in the audience or the crowd at the club or the bar, wherever you're DJing. Same thing in business. You're trying to identify who is your kind of avatar, your ideal client. We fast forward to the night, we get to like 11 o'clock at night. There's something that always goes wrong in the DJ booth, whether it be needles, speakers, computers, something always goes wrong. So how do you fix that without letting the music stop? And think in business, kind of how do you keep your business going if maybe the item or the service that you thought was going to sell a lot didn't isn't, but something else is doing well. So kind of how do you adjust on the fly? Midnight's prime time. How do you keep the dance floor like packed, hit after hit, keep people happy, singing along? Same thing in business. Then you get to like 1:30. I like to play a lot of slow jams at the end of my set. So that really sparks up nostalgia. How do you use nostalgia to grow your business or to delve into another product offering? Because many brands do that. Nintendo, Adidas, and Old Spice are some of my favorite examples of companies that have done that very successfully. And then at the end of the night, 2 o'clock, feedback. When I was DJing, I also drove for Uber. So sometimes I take people home from the same club I was DJing at in the Uber car. So that's a good way to get feedback. How do you get feedback in your business and continue to grow?
That's
So yeah,
awesome.
that's a quick summary of what it's about. It's kind of right over my shoulder right here. That's it right there. And yeah,
It's a
that's
good
what it
book. It's a good book and an easy read. I think I read it in a night. Like, and you do feel like you're going through the night. And then all the plot twists happen. You're like, "Oh no, now what?" It's good. It's a
That's
good book.
awesome. I'm gonna look
Mhm.
into it. And then I just thought of another one for both of you as entrepreneurs and business owners. And like I had mentioned earlier, I'm in my mid 40s and we're starting to think about what the end of our careers look like. And how, as an entrepreneur and owning your own company and just sort of driving your career, are you setting yourselves up to exit in 10 or 15 years when we want to actually retire? Like, what is going to be your plan? Because we're not, no one works forever. Like, I don't want to work
Mhm.
forever. I have like a whole different retirement strategy I'm working on right now. Um, do you think much about, and this is to both of you, I'd love to hear from both of you. Like, do you think about it often? Do you have a plan? Like, where are you going to get the equity? Where's the income? Like, how's it going to work? Because we don't have pensions. There's no entrepreneur pension.
Mhm. I'll let
Yeah,
Amani, you go first.
haven't really given significant thought to it. Like that's high on the priority list. I think that it's tougher when there's not built-in systems like you would in terms of a pension. Like for me, I also teach Cal State University Fullerton, so that's kind of an entryway to kind of guide you off into like retirement because you can set up things there, and it's that kind of lifestyle still fits even as you're going along. Like, is it writing more books? Is it doing something where you can get residuals off of? Like, I don't know. So that's something that's kind of needs to be fleshed out even further because that's a shift from the corporate space that we're so used to. So I don't have a good answer right there.
We just started thinking about it just recently. I'm like, what does the next like 10 or 15 years look like?
Yeah.
And what do we have time to accomplish so that then we can just drink wine and play pickleball?
Yes.
There you go.
That's
That's the
always
goal.
the end goal. It's always the end goal. We've been, Scoot, my husband is a finance guy. So he's always like, when can I retire? Like he's like, so we talk about succession planning as a couple all the time. And then, obviously that means for my business, Mandy, when are you going to stop working so much? Because I love working. I love what I do. I love talking to strangers. I love helping people solve their problems, whatever those are. Like sometimes it's a sales problem. Sometimes it's a conference problem. Sometimes it's a growing your business problem. Like I love all of that. So for me, it's going to be like, which thing do I want to ride off into the sunset doing? I don't think I will ever stop working. I mean, per se, but is it like, for the next 10 years, do I set things up so I can just write for the rest of my life, which is probably I don't think I will ever stop writing and publishing books. I love that process, so I'll always do that. I have a colleague at HPN who I love, and she's a little bit older than I am. And all of her clients are her age or a little bit older. And I asked her not too long ago, well, what does your retirement look like? What's your plan? And she's like, I'm just going to keep working till all my clients die. And I thought that was really funny because that was realistic. The clients are her age or 20 years older. She's in her late 60s, and that makes sense, right? So I thought that was funny. But I'm fortunate in the HPN world is I can work as much or as little as I want, right? So, I think over time by attrition, some clients will fall off, and I will probably make a choice to not backfill certain clients over a period of time. But yeah, succession planning is a big thing. I'll probably write, writing coach and, floating off into the distance. But in terms of the conference business, I'll graduate and do some succession planning for that over time. That's a great question.
Great question, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we have your Instagram. Let's say the two Instagram accounts at the bottom. It's good scrolling through the entire episode. Is that the best way for people to reach you? How do you
Yeah,
want?
I think those are probably where I'm putting the most content. So Clean and Colorful Kitchen is anything related to the kitchen, what's on our menu, what are we working on. And Therese Marie Wellness is more of, because I'm not doing a lot of influencer work these days, is more of a personal page, but it's, that's that. And you could also follow Miss Billy Biscuits. You could follow ID Log Cabin. I've got a lot going on Instagram, actually.
We forgot to talk about Miss Billy Biscuits. That's Teresa's cat who has over 4,000 followers, by the way.
Well, it's red, because that is from my influencing days when I did have my two other kitties. It was originally the Sam and Sophie show. And I was just cluttering up my wellness stuff with pictures of my cat. And I was like, oh, I just have to put my cats. And so I, like, as a joke, just created the cat account so that I could at least just get all the pictures of my cats out of my influencer stuff, out of my health and wellness stuff. And then for whatever reason, it's really easy to create a pet following. That, like, I just use a couple hashtags and, like, all of a sudden there's like 5,000 followers. It was hysterical. And then the cat, the kitty, it used to be all black and white. The kitties are very white. And then when we got Biscuits, in January 2021, we changed it to all color. So now there's lots of color in the cat account. So, and that does not make any money. That is just to fill my own, because I love that cat. And she did win Pet of the Year. We did actually raise enough money for our fundraiser last year, and we're going to go at it again this year. She's going to defend her title as Pet of the Year in Idlewild, raising money for the shelter that we adopted her through. I should have worn that shirt. We had little T-shirts made. We got wine with her little face on it. Like, it's a big celebrity in Idlewild.
Well done. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you for the first time. Congratulations on all your success. Happy early 6th year anniversary. And just congratulations, and continue to do what you're doing in the space. I know we'll continue to follow and support you. Any other final words, Mandy, before we sign off for Teresa?
No, just thanks for being here, and thanks for being an inspiration. It's National Women-Owned Small Business Month, and Teresa is the person we're featuring this week for that. So just thanks for being an inspirational small business owner.
Thank you. And thank you for letting me talk about, you get so into the nitty gritty of what you do today. And all I do is thinking about peeling carrots. It's just a nice reminder that it's been a really long journey to get here and the bigger picture of what we're doing. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. It's pretty cool.
You're welcome. Well, we'll be in touch. Congrats, and thank you very, very much. We'll give you a round of applause as we segue out there. Awesome. All right, Mandy, excellent work there. What do we have on tap for the next episode?
Our next episode's on Halloween. Scary.
Yes,
I'm thinking, should we wear a costume or something fun?
I'll see about a costume.
Let's just make it a surprise. Let's not talk. I know you and I are going to talk, but let's not talk about if we're going to wear a costume or not. It'll just be a surprise when we get on the screen.
Okay, yeah.
I won't be disappointed if you don't wear one, but I will probably wear something ridiculous. Yeah.
Okay, no pressure. We'll see what I can do.
Okay, it's Halloween. It's at 1:00, and the guest, I'm really excited. His name's Stuart Meyer, and he owns a company called Art Scores. And Art Scores is where he's a photographer and a composer. So he
Mhm.
will take pictures of either artwork or art in the wild, right? So it could be a cool bridge or two people chit-chatting on a bench or Monets, it could be already done art or existing art that's in the wild. And then he composes his own original scores to that
Interesting.
art. So it's like it's therapeutic, but it also can be a live action activation at a conference or a meeting or an event. And he's just a serial entrepreneur. So I'm really excited to have him on the show and talk to him. And Art Scores has been around for a while, but it's just getting re-ramped up. So it's going to be a really exciting time to talk with him about what his plans are, especially with all these immersive art exhibits that are out there, like that Van Gogh thing and all of that stuff. So I think it's going to be a good time to chat with him.
Cool. Look forward to that. It's been great catching up. We'll see you and everyone else in the chat in 2 weeks. Heather, thank you for tuning in. Carolyn, thank you for tuning in. Jessica, Lori, and your student Sana. So appreciate everyone who commented. And Mandy and I will see you in 2 weeks. Take care,
See you
everyone.
in 2 weeks. Bye.